everybody, my name is Abby Smith and I'm going to be the host of this YouTube channel, Word Kind. So the aim of this channel is just to talk about stammering, which is something that I've had growing up. I'm a person who stammers and it's something that I've not come out of the other side of because there's no cure for it, but it's something that I found a way to deal with and a way to not struggle with so much. It doesn't bother me so much anymore. So basically with this channel I just want to bring more awareness to it, as it's a cause that doesn't really get spoken about much. So the first topic I want to talk about in this video is what is a stammer, because I feel like a lot of people have maybe not necessarily the wrong idea but not the full idea, or they'll just have no clue. So I guess stammering, the more common word for it is stuttering, but that has a whole load of different meanings nowadays. Stuttering is just like pretty much everyone does it if you're thinking a bit faster than you can speak. But stammering is something that affects you in the long term. It's something that you have no control over. It happens very often. One thing that I think a lot of people also probably don't know is that stammering is classed as a disability in the UK, because it's something that does affect your life. It affects your quality of life quite often. It's something that, depending on the severity of it, can be quite humiliating in some way if you haven't found any ways to deal with it, or if you're not truly comfortable in yourself. There's also many different ways that people stammer, and a lot of people think it's just the skipping on certain syllables and the sort of juttering of words, but for probably more people than not, it's like a blockage in your throat where you just can't push it out, and it often comes with tics as well. So you might like slam your hand on the table or shake your head, things like that, to try and sort of block it out, to try and cope with it better. And that is what I think a lot of people aren't aware of. And so if you see a person genuinely stammering, like ticking all of it with it, you might be thinking, what are they doing? Because your idea of stammering in your head is just juttering on words, when actually there's a big spectrum of things that come under it. So after a brief summary of what a stammer is, I just wanted to talk about some common misconceptions around stammering, because from a little bit of research I found that most people throughout my class and just my family and things like that who follow me on social media, about 90% of people know someone who stammers or who stutters quite severely. So I think it's important to talk about things that, not things that you're getting wrong, but things that maybe you have in your head that aren't quite true. The number one thing that really frustrates me is people thinking that you're unsure of what you're saying because you're stammering. Another misconception, not really from people that I've met or people who interact with people who stammer too often, but generally from the media, is that stammering is only really shown by people who are like drunk. It's just really frustrating to see that pretty much the only people stammering in the media doing it in like a self-inflicted way, like, oh, they're drunk, oh, they're high. But it's just like no normal people just stammering, like no main characters, nothing like that, which is part of the reason why I wanted to make these videos. I want to bring more awareness to it, because although the stats are so high, like all around the world, it's just something that's not commonly seen, and especially from my experience, something that people don't really know how to deal with well. And one person who has really inspired me to make these videos in the media is Mimi Darling Beauty on TikTok. She makes these videos of her going through drive-thrus or going up and approaching people on the street, because she owns a small makeup brand, and she likes to go up to people on the street and offer them freebies and things like that. And she has quite a severe stammer, but she likes to challenge herself, and she also makes herself very vulnerable on the camera, which I think is really inspiring, because she often uploads videos of her crying or talking about her bad days, which I think is just as important as talking about all the triumphs you've had. I think it's important to show the other side of it, especially to non-stammering people, so they can understand what it's really like, because you can never really put yourself in those shoes if you've never been there, because it's really frustrating when you know exactly what you want to say but you just can't. Also, another thing that I wanted to talk about that non-stammering people probably don't know is that a lot of the time you can tell that you're going to stammer before you start your sentence. Whether it be like a certain syllable or a certain word that you know you struggle on, it's 99% certain that you're going to tell that if you're going to stammer before you start speaking, which is why it's really important to be accommodating for people who stammer, because if they feel like they're just going to be judged or they're going to be talked over, if they know what they're going to say is going to come out as a stammer, a lot of the time they're going to avoid talking, which is something that I used to do growing up when I first sort of started recognizing my stammer when I was around 11 or 12. If I knew I was going to struggle on a certain word, I just wouldn't speak, which is absolutely not the right approach. I've been to therapy and stuff for it growing up, but it's just so easy to just think, oh no, this is a bit tricky, I'm not going to say this. Or a very common coping mechanism for people who stammer is to sort of reword the sentence in their head, just to start off with a different starting, or to finish it in a different way, or to rearrange it, which is also, it's not as bad as not talking, but it's better to just accept what you want to say and just get it out. Even if you're going to struggle, it's better to just say what's on your mind, which is a struggle. If you know there's easier ways around something, you're going to take it, but it's so important to be accommodating for people who stammer, so that they feel comfortable stammering, so that they're not going to hold things back or not speak so much. And that's been a very big challenge for me to overcome, because growing up, not everyone has been so accommodating, which is just life. There's not everyone is going to be perfect, but it's really hard to accept yourself, especially because my stammer came on later in life. It's more common for it to come on when you're a child and just never leave. So it was like a shock for people when it started. And so in a way that a lot of people just made fun of me, thinking it was just a one-off thing, which really sort of disheartened me to the point where I didn't want to speak so much anymore. So then, as I said, I went to therapy and I met other people who stammer, which is really, really helpful and really sort of inspirational to see people who stammer less than me, to see people who stammer more than me. And it's a nice environment where no one judges each other. And now, one more thing that I wanted to talk about that people say to people who stammer, which really frustrates people, is, does it stop when you sing? We've all seen those X Factor auditions of people who come on and they stammer quite severely and they get on stage and they sing perfectly. It's because if you have a rhythm to your speech, you don't really stammer too often. And that's a method that they teach you at speech therapy, is to sort of tap your foot to a rhythm and sort of talk to that, because it is a way that people can combat their speech difficulties. So it does stop when you sing, but then people will be like, why don't you just sing everything? Well, then I'm going to sound more stupid than if I stammer. Why don't you just accept people who stammer? That would just make more sense than me going around singing my coffee order. So yeah, it is not as supportive as people think when they say that. It is interesting. Like, I don't understand how it works. It's obviously like this psychology thing, but I'm not gonna sing everything. I just think that the most important thing that you can do for your friend, your sister, your relative, for anyone who you know who stammers, is just to accept them, just listen. Don't offer unsolicited advice, because you're most likely not an expert, and you can help them find support if they want support, or you can just listen to them when they talk. That's the most important thing. Just as someone who stammers, just having someone who will listen and just accept you is just the best thing you can have, especially for someone who's quite insecure about their stammer. You could be that person that they feel safe with, that they feel is always gonna accept them no matter what, which is an important person to have. So it's just so easy to just give up 5 minutes of your time to listen to what they want to say. And if they're stammering, just be interested, just listen to what they're saying, because it doesn't make it any less important than people who don't stammer. It's just taking a little bit longer. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to wrap up the video. I apologise if I sounded a little bit nervous towards the start. It's because I was, but I think I've become more comfortable speaking as we go on, which is very promising for the next few videos, because I want to make them a little bit longer than this one, hopefully. So if you have any sort of ideas or advice or anything like that, just sort of comment it or send me a message. I'll link all of my Instagram and my TikTok and everything in the bio. Thank you for listening. I hope I'll see you next time.